Hello, this is Jason Palamara in Indianapolis, and I'm giving you a demo of the Avatar system. So here is the system from beginning to end. So this is a blank session in Ableton Live. I am going to build the system from the ground up here. So on my desktop, I have the pieces that I need. So they are sort of buried in here. Hang on one second. So the first thing I'm going to need is SIG2. So SIG2 is an audio device. It needs to go in an audio track. So I'm going to put SIG2 in audio 3. Actually, I'm going to put audio 3 over here and just sort of get rid of those two tracks. So I've got audio and MIDI. Okay, so these are sort of the two building blocks here. So SIG2 goes in the audio track. Okay, it's all good there. If you happen to be in a noisy environment, you could hit this Analyze Set Noise floor. Not necessary if you're in a nice conferencey stage, but let's say I wanted to do that. I'm just going to hit this and be as quiet as possible, as it says. And what it has done is it has listened to the incoming audio. Oh, actually, I should make sure that I'm actually sending it audio. Bring that down for the moment so I don't get feedback. Yeah, actually make sure it's getting audio first. All right, so I'm going to give it some audio and then be real quiet. Okay, so now it has set a noise floor. The importance of this, hang on one second. Well, the importance of this is that it will allow the system to ignore just ambient sounds, and it essentially, the Dyna system that we're going to drop in later will start its dynamics with three P's, actually 4 P's, and pianissimo musically, and that so basically anything below that is sort of deemed not music, which hopefully John Cage doesn't hear us saying that, but that's the idea there. By the way, these things, these elements that I'm dropping in are the ones that I made and I put in your favorites, so you can find them there. I'm getting them from here. Also, don't be too concerned if the exact file names are not right. Basically, as long as you're using the latest one you have, SIG2, and then the next two are Dyna and the Avatar player. As long as you have the latest ones you have, they're fine. I think these are the ones you have, but if the suffixes here or the dates after them are slightly different, don't stress. They should all work. Cool. So the next thing I'm doing, you can hear how it's really kind of annoying if I am listening to the audio, especially on my built-in microphone. If I arm this, it's really easy for me to overload the system and get feedback, which is, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's pretty annoying for me. So what I like to do is I take this audio and set it to sends only, because this audio is really only here to feed the Avatar system. So if it's not, it's not in here because we want to listen to it. So if you want a dry audio track, I would make another one. So I'm going to call this dry. And let's say we wanted to record something over here. This is what I would do. I would record the live audio over here, which isn't going to be very loud at the moment, but that's what's going on there. And here comes my feedback, because that's not working. Okay. Okay, so this audio, since this is really serving in like an aux capacity, it's an auxiliary track. I'm going to call it aux. That's not like aux in the regular audio sense, but you get the picture. I'm going to I usually like to make it a little smaller, just because once this is set, I've got my audio as loud as it can be without distorting. That's good to go. I don't need to think about it anymore. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to put Dyna in MIDI 2, or 2 MIDI. So here's Dyna. All right. Eventually we need to work on fixing that this display here, but as long as it's responding, sorry, I shouldn't snap while I'm talking, but as long as it is responding to audio in a way that makes some sense, basically it's sending out sharp attacks with relative velocity sensitive material. So then the next thing I'm going to do is drop the avatar player. Okay, so the avatar player is the thing that's actually like playing back your mind file, Scott Deal mind file, and it automatically grabs 4 favored notes. It has these 5 different ways of playing, and as you play it will cycle through these. So sometimes it is favoring 4 notes, sometimes it's favoring chords, sometimes it's making little phrases, sometimes it's favoring repetition, sometimes it's just going all over the place, and that's the favor novelty. And if you do not like these 4 notes, you can hit reset, and it will reset them to 4 favored notes that it chooses. So this is all based on machine learning of your own performances, Scott Deal's own performance. So these 4 notes are ostensibly the system deciding this is what Scott would choose. So if you hit the reset button, it chooses 4 other notes. If you don't happen to like those, you can click in here and come up with your own. Although that negates the Scott Deal avatar. So it will sort of favor these notes. You'll hear them ringing out a lot more than the others. If you find that the system, I have found that this thing is a very useful little device. Basically, this is how fast is it letting through sharp attacks. So when the system is getting a lot of audio, it gets a little bit confusing to work out what is a sharp attack from the vibraphone and what is not. So if there's a ton going on, it can spit out like glitches of notes, just like tons of notes. And I sort of adapted this way of just sort of saying like, well, sometimes the glitches will be available and sometimes they won't. I actually like the way the glitchy thing sounds, but it is overwhelming if it's happening all the time. So it won't happen all the time as long as this is on. If you're finding it is super glitchy for some strange reason, you can make it respond later, like 250 milliseconds. But I really prefer this, which is why it's the default mode. So the next part of the system is the actual instruments that we've created. So I'm going to search for those. So what we need to find here, actually it would be under instruments, instrument rack. So this in yours will be in favorites, but so I like Metallophobia. So I'm going to drop Metallophobia in here. So this is a MIDI instrument, and it is built on samples from Scott Deal. It has a lot of other effects going on in here. You can see that if you're a musician, you can see that the range of this instrument is a lot bigger than a normal vibraphone. And also the samples we used, Scott is playing with metal beaters, and I really like the way this sounds. So it doesn't really sound like a true acoustic vibraphone if you get down to to this point where it's playing notes that no vibraphone can actually play, and that's very artificial, and that's by design. We were really after something that the vibraphone can't do, because who needs another MIDI vibraphone? So why not create a brand new instrument that it can play? There is one really interesting thing here, and that is that the notes, as you pan them, if you just were to play chromatic scale, because this is all built on live audio, they actually pan from left to right, depending on just the way notes would if they were played on a real vibraphone, because the original audio is that way, and that adds a layer of reality to the thing that I think is really neat. This also has some effects that I've been playing around with, but I'll let you get into that as you desire. So if you feel that you want to easily just sort of spit out some notes and say, is this working? Or if your audio person wants to hear the system sounds, you can do this. You hit this button. It's actually giving a lot of audio. Let's bring it down a little bit. You can also, if you prefer, the latest version of the Avatar player has an AI mode, which as long as the transport is playing, it will make up new music in the style supposedly of Scott Deal. So I'm going to put that in there and start the transport. So if it's in this mode, it is not listening to live audio anymore. It is simply responding to its own choices. So it's playing sort of in an algorithmic AI sense. So this is useful if you need to really work on the effects, and you want to just make some notes. You could also use it musically if you wanted. You could just trigger this some way. But I'm going to shut it off. Okay. And well, as the system is built now, it should respond. And I have to be careful. It's listening to me. So it is also listening to itself at this point. So I'm going to stop it. It's tough to get that to stop happening sometimes, but presumably in a concert it is not listening to itself as much, because on a Mac computer the microphone and the speaker are right on top of each other, so it's a little bit difficult. It becomes a little difficult to filter that out. But that is the system as it stands, so the cool thing about it is that since it is merely playing a MIDI file, or sorry, it's a MIDI instrument device. You can do whatever it is you want with your own performance. You can add audio tracks after this. You can even take the audio from, let's say, the Metallophobia. I'm going to take the Metallophobia audio and add effects. So if I wanted to, I could throw in a buffer shuffler, throw that on top, and now I can pipe effects into here. You can also throw effects onto this. You can have a whole session on top of this where you have clips and loops and whatever else it is you're doing. That is it's all up to you. So basically, the system at this point is set up to use. The other thing I usually do, since this is an aux track, I like to just remove the stop buttons because there's pretty much, since we can't hear this track, there's no use in recording audio right here. So that is, that's sort of useless to have those there. All right. Hopefully this has helped.